This is Lane Kawoka, host of the SimplePassiveCashflow.com podcast, and you're listening to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future.
I realized that after filing for unemployment, just how little people get in sense of security. I'm very lucky where I don't have as many responsibilities, and I've been savvy with my money, and I always plan for a rainy day. But I thought to myself, what if I was a single mom with 2 kids, or maybe I am the bread maker and I'm let go, and now I'm resorting in one of the most expensive cities on $1,200 a month that's also going to be taxed. It was jarring for me.
This is Dream Chasers, episode 62, with Olga Kirshenbaum. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Olga Kirshenbaum. Olga is the founder of Rags to Riches Consulting and the author of Shmoney Guide. She's originally from Ufa, Russia. She went to Marymount Manhattan College and Long Island University as well for her graduate degree. And now Olga lives in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. Olga, thank you for being on the show. And do you have any opening remarks for my listeners?
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. It's my first podcast, so see how it goes.
All right. We're breaking through today. Guys, I first discovered Olga on LinkedIn, and I'm going to need her help on this one because I don't remember exactly how we first connected. It might have been through one of Joe Apfelbaum's webinars afterwards. Maybe we were just in one of the groups or something like that. I can't remember, but we definitely first connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think it was actually one of Joe's webinars, and I think we may have added something in the chat. And I think he just asked people to put in their LinkedIn profile links. I think that's how we originally connected. And then he created a group for people to kind of start conversations. And then we're like, hey, let's get on a call.
Yeah, it was something very simple like that. And we hopped on a call, maybe 3 months ago or somewhere around that time. And I feel like, I don't remember, but I feel like it was supposed to be a half-hour phone call and it turned into like a 90-minute phone call.
That's exactly what happened, actually. We had such a great time talking. It was almost like you and I were really close friends without actually knowing each other.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I think the main reason why that happened is because now that we have gotten to know each other a little bit and I see how you interact with individuals on LinkedIn as well, we are both very much people first. We're people. Like we love interacting with people and just bringing the good vibes, bringing the positive vibes.
Absolutely. I think one of my main mottos, I would say, for how I engage with people, well, on LinkedIn, but I think how I engage with people on LinkedIn mirrors my real life also. I think everyone has something to teach each other. And I just love hearing other people's perspectives. You know, I've definitely put conversation starting posts on there before and have gotten a completely different perspective that I never even imagined before. So I think that's what I try to kind of lean in with, you know, even if it's something that I don't necessarily agree with, I always like to hear what people have to say.
Yeah, I guess I have a question for you. What have you found? Because obviously spending time on LinkedIn, it can be worth it, but sometimes it can be time consuming. So what's maybe like a posting style or something that you do when you log in that helps you get a lot of engagement without having to, I don't want to say do a lot of work, but you know, what's the best way to work smart rather than work hard when it comes to networking?
Absolutely. I think especially when you're starting and you're trying to figure out what you want your LinkedIn experience to be, because everyone's journey is very different. Not all of us are starting businesses. Some of us already have existing businesses. Some people are just networking for job seeking opportunities. So it's very difficult to kind of give a very generic piece of advice. But what I would say is have a purpose, kind of like what Joe talks about. I definitely try to post every day because I have seen a lot of payoff from just posting consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And I also try not to be too hard on myself on days that I don't actually make it. There are days I don't actually post, and I try to build into my just monthly schedule 2 days where I'm completely silent because I found that I personally need that time to recharge. It's overwhelming. You're meeting a lot of people, you're having a lot of conversations, and for me, if I don't have that recharge time, it just drains me, and that's when I can get burned out. Outside of posting, I also have a list of things that I kind of have to do every day. It helps me stay on track and also avoid that giant time hole trap that it can be, because at the end of the day, it is social media.
Well, I have to ask, and then we'll we'll get more focused on rags to riches in your new book as well. But what are some of those things there that you just mentioned on your list?
Sure. And it's funny because it's also something Joe talks about. I've heard him say it a million times, probably in his events and his webinars, when I see him in person, because he also lives in Brooklyn. He says, pick a number and stick to it. Let's say you're going to connect with 5 different people today, and you're going to have 5 conversations in DMs that aren't just, hi, bye. You are having like an actual meaningful conversation. So I like to have at least 5 meaningful conversations per day and connect with 5 new people that are sending me requests. There's also obviously my requests that are being accepted. So it's not as little of a connection space as you may actually think. And
Mm-hmm.
then the last thing that I do is post 10 meaningful comments on people's posts. Something that's recent. It doesn't always have to have a lot of, visibility or a lot of likes or comments already. For me, it's just something that resonates and I can add to the conversation, and something that I think my network would also value from.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy at first, but it's so true, especially if you're someone who's even a little bit active, I would say, on LinkedIn, receiving that level of engagement, for example, that you, in this case, are giving really does make people feel good about themselves and they remember you. And I see what you do on a daily basis. And, everyone loves Olga. That's just how it is.
Oh man, I really appreciate that. I mean, I really just like to make people feel good because who doesn't like to feel good? I think we all like to feel good, but I think it's also something people are struggling a lot with these days. People feel more alone than before. People are really anxious, and we don't talk about things that are positive towards others. We're always celebrating our wins or someone who's an influencer, but we never kind of build each other up. And that's honestly what I'm trying to do, because it actually is a great gateway into my book and what I do, because I think everything is so intertwined that when I make people feel good about, maybe someone did their first video, maybe they did their first post on LinkedIn ever, it's nerve wracking. And I get how scary it can be. And someone coming there and saying, like, hey, great job, keep going. I think that's what people remember. And
Hmm.
people will always remember how you made them feel. And then several months later, I've seen this happen. People will come to me and say, hey, I am reading this book. I read this interesting concept about money, and they'll ask my opinion on it. And they know that I'm just transparent. I would rather give them a piece of advice that will benefit them and result in them not coming on as a client or buying my book, but it's because I'd rather have them the right information so they can make the right choices. And I think since it's kind of the brand that I'm building, it makes sense. And it's
Yeah.
also just kind of who I am.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm gonna combine two questions here, and I'll let you decide which order you want to answer them. But first of all, Olga, we are now going to step into the next level chamber. One is, how long have you been operating Rags to Riches Consulting, and when did you realize that this was something that you wanted to take to the next level?
Well, it's kind of like my starter story. So I've been operating for a year. I just celebrated my first full year in business at the beginning of June.
All right.
And so it's fairly new, but it's actually something that I've been doing for my friends and family easily since I was in high school. I got my degree in accounting at Marymount, so I was always savvy with money. So my friends would always come to me and ask these types of questions. So I kind of have been doing it on the side for over 10 years at this point. But a year ago, I found myself laid off, and it was already from a job that I was not happy in. So let's say I got let go on a Tuesday. Thursday, I had already an interview scheduled. So, I was already out the door, and I always thought about starting a business. I got my MBA in entrepreneurship, so I knew it was going to be something. I just didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was interviewing and nothing truly excited me. And I think that was one of the reasons why I wasn't happy in my last job. I liked what I did. I liked the industry, but I just didn't feel fulfilled. And just the type of person that I am, it's kind of necessary for me. I need to be invested in what I'm doing. I realized that after filing for unemployment, just how little people get in sense of security. I'm very lucky where I don't have as many responsibilities, and I've been savvy with my money, and I always plan for a rainy day. But I thought to myself, what if I was a single mom with 2 kids, or maybe I am the bread maker and I'm let go, and now I'm resorting in one of the most expensive cities on $1,200 a month that's also going to be taxed. It just really, it was jarring for me. I wasn't struggling myself, but I just thought of so many people that are. And then a couple of months after I started my business, the government shutdown happened. And I think the statistics are something like 80% of government employees had completely wiped out their savings just to get through that period. And it was, I think, a little bit less than 2 months. So, but that puts into perspective just how important this information is. And that's really how it all started.
Yeah, wow. That's that really is rags to riches, right?
It really is. I've listened to a lot of advice that people say, you have to forgo all your vacations. You can't have a good time for 5 years until you're completely debt free. I think if you're trying to apply these things to your real life, how can you tell a 5-year-old child, we're not going to have any ice cream for the next 3 years because mommy and daddy made some poor choices about money? It doesn't resonate. It doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, it's going to be so much harder to stick to whatever you decide to do because it doesn't fit your life.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I kind of focus is how do you take advice that does make sense, but doesn't necessarily fit your life? How do you align your goals with your actions so that you can make it fit? Because the most important part, when it fits and it resonates with your why you're doing this, when it comes to a point where you're wanting to impulse spend or you're trying to stick to your budget, that's really when it's going to kick in and you're going to say, hey, I'm doing this for a reason. There's a bigger thing here, and you're going to be less likely to be naughty.
Yeah, don't be naughty. I want to talk more about Shmoney Guide now.
Yes.
Tell us, first of all, I guess a little bit more about the title, how you came up with it, what's the subtitle, and just, your thoughts on launching your first book. I wouldn't say envious, but definitely look up to you and getting ready for the day that I launch my first book as well.
Oh, thank you. And I definitely have a lot of information about self-publishing and things like that I'll save that for later. So the book is called Money Guide. Making money choices doesn't need to be so scary. I really came about to choose this title specifically really because there's so much stigma out there about money conversations. Most of us have grown up with some sort of version of it's not polite to talk about money, but not having money conversations actually, I believe, leaves us without the tools to look for information that can help us when we do go through a financial hardship. And then a lot of the times, people that go to advisors, these financial advisors will start using lingo and they make a lot of assumptions that people have the very basic foundation of financial literacy. And the reality is they don't. I actually have friends that will go to these meetings and will call me and say, hey, I want to pick your brain. I don't understand what the heck they're talking about. And that's really what I'm trying to address. I want to build that foundation that I think all of us should be building in school alongside with math and reading. I think it's so important that that's what I wanted to do. Bring that to the world and also just not make it so stuffy. I think that money is stressful and the topic is stuffy enough. We don't need another book that glazes people's eyes over. I wanted to make it fun, and I really worked hard on, I hope that when people read it, they hear me talking. And it's just like this, the tone of the book. I want people to feel comfortable and that I believe that they can become financially independent and financially literate.
Yeah. So, how can we get a copy of the book? And yeah, I guess how can we get a copy?
Sure. So right now it's available on two places. The first version is an ebook. So it's already rolled out on my publisher's website. It's lulu.com, and you could just search Money Guide and it comes up. But it's also now available on the iBook store. In a couple of weeks, it's also going to be available on Amazon, Kobo, and the Nook. It's just taking some time. So the one thing I love about this publisher that I went with, Lulu, is that they allow you to do everything on your own, but they can also help you streamline all the processing for all those other vendors. So what I really did was submit a manuscript for my ebook to Lulu. They processed it on their end, and they're taking care of all the other retailers for me. So
Awesome.
it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. When we get to the portion of the interview where you share your contact information, I guess I just want to highlight it right now too. Anyone listening, getting ready to self-publish, here's your here's your contact. Here's your advice. Olga Kirshenbaum's totally the one you want to be communicating with, right? I guess I don't want to just throw you out there like that.
I appreciate that. I would also want to shout out someone named Dale Roberts. I found him through YouTube, actually. He did a review of Lulu. I really liked his content and had reached out to him on LinkedIn, and I said, hey, I really like your content. I'm actually self-publishing. And I had already known some of these things, but he really helped me take this whole project to the next level. I did not know that it was so simple to do audiobooks until he and I spoke. I definitely recommend contacting him.
Thank you. That's good. I'm gonna go back and listen to this interview at least a handful of times now. I can tell you that.
Awesome.
So I got 3 fun questions for everyone here to feel like they got to know Olga a little bit more today. And since you're in Brooklyn, I had to ask, especially these first 2 questions. The first one is, what is your favorite place to eat? Second one is, what is your favorite type of transportation? And the third one, besides Shmoney Guide, what is your favorite book?
Ooh. So the first one's actually pretty hard because I'm a foodie. I love, 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 love food. I would have to say one of my favorite places is actually not in Brooklyn. But it is a Russian restaurant. It's called Mari Vana. And it's a little bit upscale, but it's also probably the most authentic Russian food I've ever had. I remember the first time I went there, it was like a cold winter night for dinner, and it just like hit me. And I was like, wow, I felt like I walked into my mom's kitchen. It was amazing. For transport, I would say, honestly, I love walking. If I can walk somewhere, if it takes a mile, I don't care. I'll walk. I definitely prefer it over cars. And I mean, I can't tell you the last time I was on a bus because honestly, I just walk everywhere if I could. Yeah.
Nice.
And let's see. So I like to read a lot. My favorite book. I mean, I have to say it's probably one of those cliche answers because I'm sure a lot of people say it, but I read all of the Game of Thrones books and they were amazing. Like, I would love to walk into George R. R. Martin's brain just to walk around this insanely intricate world that he's been able to build. I think it's so fascinating. I mean, if we think about it, I think it took him 20 years or something,
Wow.
and he's still not done. So yeah, it's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, that's good to know. I don't know. I guess you can hold me accountable for this one, but I have stayed away from the Game of Thrones buzz. But I didn't even know that it came from a book series until right now.
Really? Oh my goodness! So let me blow your mind. Personally, I mean, the show was great. I think there was a point where they just went the other direction because they kind of surpassed the books. The books are actually not done. So there's 5 books, I believe, and there's 2 more that need to come out. They stopped kind of following the books maybe 3 seasons before. I mean, there are also other changes, but I definitely enjoyed reading the books more. I like to view the show as its own story with just kind of similar characters at this point. I definitely recommend it. I mean, it's also quite a challenge to read, and I think that was also kind of exciting for me. I think the first book is like 2,000 pages.
Wow.
They're long, but it's necessary and absolutely wonderful. I definitely recommend it.
All right. Well, good to know. And like I said, you can hold me accountable on that one.
Yeah.
Olga, what's the best way? Because we mentioned it earlier. It sounds like you've got a lot of insight and advice in regards to everything that you're doing. So what's the best way for anyone listening to follow up and get in touch with you?
I think honestly the best way right now is LinkedIn, just because it's my most active social media platform. I'm working on all the others, but something that we talked about earlier is that I think as an entrepreneur, it's really important to be intent with how you spend your time and the things that you do. So I actually don't have notifications turned on for most of my apps. So the one that I check most regularly is LinkedIn.
Yep. That's good. Got to stay focused. Cool.
Exactly.
Well, Olga, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you a little bit more. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Adam. It was a really great experience. Now I'm looking forward to doing more.
Yeah, consider this the beginning of your podcasting career.
There you go. I can do anything now.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. We will catch you in the next episode. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.